I've had people ask me to do a tutorial on Procreate, which I do not feel qualified to do, but this is what I've been doing for hours and hours every day for this past week, and I thought maybe I can videotape a little of it and show you just a few things that are advantages or ways of using Procreate. So you can see I'm using my finger. I can change the size of the image, and what I've been doing is going in, zooming in on the areas, and you can kind of see here where I've been honing this design. I've been filling in colors and drawing the little lines around it, and I've gotten one side of this tree done and not the other side, and it's just long and tedious just sitting here. So I have my pen set. It keeps changing how it's showing a reflection back at the camera, unfortunately. But whoops, and sometimes it jumps around on me. So I can draw lines like this, and then I can, let's see, like there are places where I need to spruce it up a little bit. Like right here, it's not all filled in right. So what I do is that over here, there's a little box. I can tap that, and that means I'm picking a color. So then I come back over here and say I want this color. I tap that color and it chooses it. And then I can take my pen, I can change the size right here and use it to fill in. So I fill these colors. So the reason I'm doing this is that when I scale up the pattern and have it printed out, I want these lines to be as sharp as possible and as clear as possible, because this will become a map for me to follow. And I learned the last time that by not going around and doing this, when the design got scaled up, these lines ended up just being very blurry in places, and I wasn't sure what I was following once it's giant. Because, you know, picturing this design here, let's take it down, is going to be over 13 feet tall by 16 and a half feet wide. So we're Jill, who helped me scale this, said if I bring this guy, the running man, to the full size, like this is about actual size for him. So that gives me a sense of, you know, whether these lines are going to look readable or not. And, you know, obviously these ones are. I'm actually going to do the people separately. I have those templates in a separate file, and so I'll follow those separately. But, you know, I keep coming back and picking at little things like this is a little rough, and I probably don't need to get into that much detail. So right now I'm trying to just focus on some of the places that are blurrier still, or less, you know, like once this is really scaled up, will I be able to see the difference between each of these shapes to follow them? And being able to do that is going to speed everything up. Other things that you can do right here, these are layers. And so I've got, you know, a base layer that after Jill scaled up the design she sent me. Now I then created a second layer to work over the top of it. So I can, let's see, this might be interesting. If I disappear, if I click off of this, it disappears the layer I've been working on, so you can see how much work I've done, so how different that is. And so each, you know, if I were being really smart and meticulous, I would have made different layers for each section, because if you ever want to stop and redo something, you can just remove a layer, and that makes it really easy. You can create as many layers as you need to. So the original design is just layer after layer after layer. And then this is where you choose your color palette. You can choose any color from in here, or you can choose your color from within the design. And if you are, so when I have wanted to create a solid shape, for instance, I'd get this color, I'd draw all my shapes around, and then there would be empty shapes. When you have an empty shape, I'm trying to figure out if I can demonstrate this on one of my sections. So let's see, like say right here, I'm going to make this narrow by bringing this down and just drawing this little shape. And once it's completely outlined, I can then just take this and I drag it over to the shape, and it's not doing it right now. I think because I'm being awkward there, it fills it in. So that's, and I did the wrong color, but to give you an example of that, you drag this shape and it's a fill. So if you give it an outline, it can fill it. If you're new to this kind of program, if you have done Photoshop before, this is probably an even more basic version. I didn't learn Photoshop, and I can't afford to buy it, or I haven't sprung for the program because it's really expensive. But Procreate is like, I think it was $20 or $25. Granted, you have to have the iPad and the stylus, and these are, that's a big investment. But once you have an iPad and a stylus, it's just a really great program for doing this kind of illustration. And a lot of the time I'm taking these little people, and I'll show you. So up here's the gallery. And these are, whoops. So like this is my little running guy. And let me see if so I worked over a photograph, and I changed it a little bit so it's not recognizable, and just made the colors more solid, thinking that, this may even be too much detail for me to do in Mosaic, but I can block these things out, and it gives me a much more basic design to follow with Mosaic. So hopefully that makes sense. Come back to my my design, and then I can work on it. So it makes it so I can flip back and forth. I can then take those little templates, I can copy that, and I can paste it into this design. There's a copy and paste option. And that's how I got like my little family here. Is I took clip art of a family, I found a photograph online. I drew over it in layers, and then I copied it and I pasted it into this image. So, and then I had to work with, there are some silly things like the way the shadows are, that I'm trying to make it so that the light is coming from a particular direction, and I had to add in shadows. I made them really basic, but under people, I added in shadows. I haven't done that as good a job of being consistent with my shadows all the way through, but that is something I need to go back and just double check before I turn this in and print it up. And so that's just a really quick overview of how Procreate works and how it has completely changed the way I design for Mosaic now. And I think it has definitely stepped up my game. It's changed my style, it's changed my process, and I think that it has made it so that it's also really possible for me to, for instance, I don't have the copy of it in here, but Jill then took this design and actually put it onto a photograph of the parking garage where it's going to go, so that it looks as though it's right there. And I've done that, say, for instance, I did do it with the Nisqually design. So you see, this is the kiosk. It's a photograph of the kiosk. And in the layers, there's so many layers that I used to work on this. But there's the original photograph, and I was able to paste and draw this design right on top of it. And that makes it really easy for the client to visualize what it might look like. And I did 2 different versions and then gave them 2 to choose from. So this is Procreate. Here's like stuff I've worked on, things I might want to work on, and I just play around with it sometimes, and I can take it anywhere, and I don't have to have all my paints and brushes and things. All I need is this. So it's pretty cool.